What's up? Just got out of class for computer science. What did we learn today? All right, it was all about loops. So we talked about loop bodies, iterations, infinite loops, while loops. We talked about the difference between counter-controlled loops and sentinel-controlled loops. The difference being that counter-controlled loops, at the beginning of the program, you can calculate how many times it's going to iterate, how many times it's going to execute. Versus sentinel control loops, you can't tell how many times it's going to, or you can't know how many times it's going to iterate or repeat before the program runs, or at the beginning of the program running. So that's the difference between sentinel controlled loops versus counter controlled loops. It's really, can you tell how many times it's going to execute or repeat or loop or iterate at the beginning when you run it, like at the start of the running of the program. Then we talked about the four pieces of a loop that are necessary, that you need to have a valid loop. You need to have a loop control variable, an initial value of the loop control variable, basically changing or modification of the loop control variable, and like an ending value of the loop control variable. But I don't really understand what that means, because can't you just say while true and then you get an infinite loop? There's no ending value, there's no variable as far as I can see. So I guess to have a valid loop that's not an infinite loop, you need to have those components, or those characteristics, I would assume. So all right, anything else? What else do we got? There's something else. Data validation loop is a sentinel controlled loop in which basically it runs until a valid data input is input. So it's basically not allowing bad data to be input. It only allows or gets out of the loop once a valid piece of data is input. So I think that's basically it. Oh, you got a good view of the sun right there. Pretest loop. A pretest loop that's what a while loop is a pretest loop. A pretest loop means that it's checking a condition before the loop is it's deciding to run the loop or not. And so a pretest loop can run 0 times. That's just the nature of it. It can just have a false condition initially. A loop expression is the condition, I believe. And then one other note was integer/data wrap. So I couldn't find out I don't know if this is for certain in Python or if this is a computer thing, but I know it's in other languages, I think like C and Java and other languages. Basically, there's a maximum and a minimum integer value and a maximum minimum float value. And when you get there, if you iterate all the way there, so to the maximum value, and you keep adding up to the maximum, once you add to the maximum, it loops or wraps back around to the smallest negative value, and then starts working up from the negatives and vice versa. So it's interesting. It's an interesting concept that you just wouldn't, I wouldn't have thought about, at least at this point. But other than that, it looks like it's right. Everything else is good. So that's it for right now. I should be back, or I will be back at least for one more session later today. Talk to you later. See you. Welcome back to computer science. Yesterday we were working on computer programs, little mini programs. I'm going to be doing the same thing today because they are due tomorrow night. So I'll be back to reflect on what I learned, what I did in a little bit. All right, guys. I think I just wrote the longest program I've ever written. up to this date with typing, not like block code, and it was like 73 lines, so it's cool. Basically, it took an input of a month, and then it took an input of a day, and it output the season in the northern hemisphere, given the dates that were given, the date ranges. If the month was an invalid month or the date was an invalid date, the output was invalid. It just said invalid, output print. So yeah, a bunch of just cascading if sequences, as well as nested if statements. Cascading if statements. Sequences or statements, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for right now. I'll probably be back later today to do another round, so talk to you then. See ya. Okay, what's up? I'm back for some more computer science. I'm gonna jump in to doing some more projects, and I'll be back to recall what I did and learned in a little bit. All right, I just completed 2 programs. These are getting more complicated. It's kind of more interesting, more fun. The first one was you input a number and it outputs basically each number integer is a cent, and you want to output the least amount of least amount of coins for the change, and you can use dollars as well, but just dollars, so basically $1 bills. So if I said 1,400, that's $14, nothing else. If I said 14.25, I'd say $14.25. If I said 14.26, I'd say $14.20 or $14 1/4, 1 penny. That's what I meant, 1/4. So the least amount of coins and dollars possible, and so that was an interesting one. I was going to use a while loop, but I ended up was like, we hadn't done loops yet in this project when this project is like for the lecture it's assigned with. So I tried to do it without it. It was actually simpler to not use while loops, just to use floor division and like multiplication, subtraction. And then, yeah, of course, if cascading if sequences or statements, and then we did another program, which was, what was that other one? What was the other one? Oh, golf. So basically, outputting a statement based on the input of the par and how many strokes it took. You basically output like par blank in blank is either eagle, birdie, par, or bogey. And if it's not a par 3, 4, or 5, it's an error. And if it's not a birdie, eagle, or bogey, or par, then it's an error. So yeah, that's basically it for today. I think we're done now with the programming project. So we'll probably start in the next lecture tomorrow. So yeah, talk to you then. See ya.